Okay, so bridging the gap between the 40% loss of revenues and the 80% of the budget that's spent on employee salaries and benefits.
Okay. When I saw some figures, I didn't realize that I was not sure that it was 80%, that it was more like 66%, 64%. Not that I'm
When you
arguing with anyone here.
No, when you take all of the salaries plus all of the benefits,
Sure.
it comes out to close to 80%. And then about 20% is dedicated to services and supplies and things like that.
We, pre-pandemic, we were doing things a certain way. And that was the norm. We can't go back to that norm. We have to we have to build our own new norm. And it has to be efficient. It has to be tailored to the community needs. It has to be essential. So at first I would look at essential services.
Okay.
I'm not fond of cutting personnel if we can avoid it, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
But if we do things differently and we might find that we can do things better.
Okay. If you had only two choices, which would be your first, and then obviously your second? Would you prefer to lay off employees to help bridge a budget gap? Or would you be more inclined to ask all current employees to take a 10% pay cut?
Well, there would be a caveat. Again,
Okay.
if we find that there's something that we're doing that we no longer need that person to do that job,
Okay.
we've eliminated a service, we've eliminated as much of a service, then I would lay that person off. But just typically, no, your employees really know how to do their job. They're a lot smarter than sometimes the managers think, and they've got answers to problems that just if you get into a dialogue with them, that you will find out they know a better way.
Okay. All three employee unions with the city of Mesquite, the police, the fire, and then the rank and file unions, are all due a 5% pay increase July 1. In light of the budget challenges, what would you do about that?
If we have a contract,
We do.
we have a contract.
Yep.
We have to abide by the contract.
Would you be inclined to negotiate with the unions or just any kind of talks or anything?
Yes, of course, I
Okay.
would approach the unions and see, if they would be willing to delay the increase. There's always room for negotiations.
Okay.
That should always be attempted.
Okay. The 4 area schools, the 2 elementary schools, the middle school and the high school, have been receiving a portion of the cannabis sales tax that the city collects each year. Are you in favor of keeping that going or cutting it all together with the budget situation?
I support education.
Okay.
It would be one of the last things that I would cut.
Okay. Okay. Overall, what are your top 3 revenue priorities for the city, and then 3 expense priorities for the city? So revenues, what 3 areas of revenues would you concentrate on the most?
I would look to see if we were getting the money that we're entitled to from the state. I'm sure if I've asked if this is one of the, I'm answering the question that you're asking. I know we have a grant writer, but maybe, I don't know if there's a lot more out there that we need,
Okay,
a lot more a lot more resources that we could get
yeah,
from the state, from the federal government, from the county.
okay,
I am not typically one to make a big noise, but I will if it's important.
okay.
And it would be important to make sure we're getting our fair share.
Okay. What about 3 expense priorities? What would you look to spend money on? What are the most important things for the city to spend their money on? So the expense priorities.
Expense priorities obviously is employees.
Mm-hmm.
That would be most important, and then we have services that we provide. So I'm not sure, I haven't looked into that into detail, but that would be something I'm certain that I would look into.
Okay. What are your thoughts on future funding of Mesquite Regional Economic Development Organization? And should the current council reduce its funding, increase its funding, or dissolve the organization altogether?
That needs to be looked at. I have looked at the annual report for 2018. I don't believe the 2019 is online or available at this point. We've engaged a company or an entity to do something to get us more business so that we can increase our tax base, so we can grow, so we can have services and we can keep Mesquite as we would like to be. A small town with lots of activities and lots of things to do, and keep it, with a big heart. We have a big heart in this town. The answer, though, to that, the regional economic development would be, I would look for what is in their contract, what is their performance numbers. Is it written so that we are able to get good information about how they are doing their job?
Okay.
As an example, do we have something in their contract that says there's an X number of dollars that need to be brought in as at least a threshold per year? So it needs to be performance measurement based.
Okay. Should more of the city's budget dollars be spent on income producing and business generating activities like new sports fields, amphitheaters, concert venues, and things like that?
It would be ideal. I'm not sure at this point in facing this pandemic and how that's going to affect us over the next few years that we will be able to do that. But yes, it would be income producing is always good. We have a fixed budget. We shouldn't spend more than we have, and so we need to have Plan B for what we can do if we come up short, and have a lot of things in in our folder that explained that will get us where we need to be, get us more funding.
Okay. If you are elected, what would be the one thing that you would most like to work on first?
I am concerned, because of my medical background, I am concerned about where it's going with our hospital,
Okay.
where we, and would want to make sure that we're involved.
Mm-hmm.
That, because if we don't have a hospital, we can't draw we can't draw any business, big or small. We can't support our people.
Yeah.
And to me, our people is the most important.
So it would be along the lines of working with the hospital to improve or expand services?
Correct. It's just that since they're facing, they're going into bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. We don't know if they're going to, once, because of their parent company, we don't know what decisions are going to be made.
Right.
And we need to keep communication lines open and work with them.
Okay.
I'm always, my thing with the city is I hope that we do a better job of teamwork throughout
Okay.
the city.
Okay.
So.